British Columbia Institute of Technology acknowledges that our campuses are located on the unceded traditional territories of the Coast Salish nations of Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh. Good afternoon. My name is Sia Forio, and these are your afternoon headlines to 3 o'clock. Local advocacy groups are calling on the Surrey RCMP to provide safer services for women. This comes after a 37-year-old Afro-Latina woman had a fatal encounter with the Surrey RCMP. Our reporter, Emily Deneen, explains what these calls are.
Many women's groups gathered today in the Surrey Library to stand in solidarity with Vanessa Renteria. Renteria had a fatal encounter with the Surrey RCMP on September 19th. Neelam Sidhu is the director of programs for the Surrey Women's Centre, and she says that the recent incident is causing concerns for women's safety when having encounters with the RCMP and police.
Women deserve to feel safe when they are calling the police or when they are in police presence. This not feeling safe or not being safe when calling the police for support can cause further barriers for women that are seeking protection from unsafe circumstances.
Sidhu is also demanding that the RCMP work on de-escalation techniques without force. Emily Deneen, BCIT's The Crow.
We now have Emily Deneen joining us in studio. Emily, thank you so much for taking the time to come in. Now, you were at the press conference that took place this morning in Surrey.
Yes.
Besides Battered Women's Support Services, what other groups were gathered at the press conference today?
So, Sia, as you know, Battered Women's Support Services were the people who were running the press conference today. So many members of their organization participated, and then there was BC Community Alliance, BC Liberties Association, and BC General Employees Union were also there, and then Surrey Women's Centre also participated today.
It's such a tragic story. Can you tell us what transpired between the RCMP and the victim?
Yeah, so Vanessa moved from Colombia with her 18-month-old daughter a while ago, and she lived with her husband and her brother-in-law, and there was alleged abuse from her husband. Vanessa made some friends in her English classes that she was taking to become more a part of the community, and she asked for help from her friends to get herself out of that situation, and her friends agreed. And Vanessa went to go get her stuff, and she never came back. And so her friends were really concerned, and they called the Surrey RCMP to do a wellness check on Vanessa. And when the Surrey RCMP arrived, they found Vanessa in a bathroom with her daughter and a knife. And it's kind of unclear what happened after, but there was 3 bullets that were shot at Vanessa.
And with that being said, does she speak English, or was there communication between?
So Vanessa was taking English classes. She does not speak English fluently. It's her second language, and it is believed that her husband was the one who was translating the RCMP or helping them communicate.
Now, have there been any other reported deaths by the RCMP?
So since 2020, there have been 9 reported deaths by the RCMP in BC, and a lot of the deaths happened because of mental health calls.
Oh, wow. That's, once again, so tragic. Thank you so much for sharing the story with us, and thank you, Emily, for joining us.
Thank you,
We really
Sia.
appreciate it. The Wildlife Rescue Association of BC says it's dealing with dozens of injured birds that hit windows as winter migration season approaches. The association says it has admitted 81 birds that struck windows since August, including 9 nighthawks. It says migrating birds are highly prone to hitting windows because they can't see glass surfaces. According to the association, birds need to be cared for as soon as possible after striking a window. Around 25 million birds die in Canada each year from hitting glass surfaces, according to the association. You may have felt the 3.8 magnitude earthquake that struck off BC's coast this morning. According to Natural Resources Canada, the quake took place around 4 o'clock and about 11 kilometers southeast of Sydney. The department says the earthquake was lightly felt in Victoria and Vancouver. They also state that no reports of damage were made and none would be expected. After hours of deliberation and public submissions, the Squamish District Council rejected Fortis BC's application for a temporary use permit to house workers. Reporter Sophie Hansen has more on the rejection.
The temporary use permit would have allowed for the construction and eventual use of temporary housing by hundreds of local and non-local workers hired by Fortis BC. Public submissions were heard, most outlining serious concerns for the community and the environment. Jackie Williams, a Squamish Nation member and advocate, says the rejection of Permit 73 is very promising for the future of Squamish. Williams also urged all levels of government to engage directly with those impacted by proposals like this. Sophie Hansen, BCIT's The Crow.
A tribal police officer has been charged with voyeurism in Whistler, BC. Mounties say the officer has been charged with 3 counts of voyeurism for allegedly filming sexual acts with women without their consent. According to the RCMP, the man charged is a member of the Stetlium Tribal Police Service, and the alleged offenses happened in Vancouver and Pemberton between 2020 and 2022. RCMP say there's a publication ban on details of the case to protect the alleged victims' identities. Sergeant Jeffrey Shore with Sea to Sky RCMP says it was a lengthy investigation, and he thanked those who came forward for their patience. Sea to Sky RCMP say the man is due in North Vancouver Provincial Court next week. A First Nation community in Northern Ontario has Canada's longest boil water advisory at 29 years and counting. Ryan Munoz twice tried to live in his First Nation home, but it was nearly impossible with young children.
And when I first lived here with my first relationship, we had so many problems in the house. It was moldy, it was broken down. We had to use a water heater, those little plug-in things, and then we had like containers with water, cold water, and we would put that water heater thing in there to warm up water just to give my son a bath, or even myself to take a bath. Like, took hours and hours, and then like we never had the proper running water, and most of the time it's just kind of like my body or my son's body used to have like these little rashes, and it was nasty. Like you could tell the water was just disgusting.
Now Munoz and his family returned for a week to visit family and friends and reconnect with the land, but he prefers his new place in Thunder Bay because of the water problems at home. Defense Minister Bill Blair says the government is working on plans to get Canadians out of Lebanon as the fighting between Israel's military and Hezbollah continues.
We've been working very closely with allies. We've staged and continue to stage resources in order to respond appropriately. We have the appropriate authorities now from the Lebanese government and from some of our regional partners to make sure that we can do what is necessary.
With more people joining online banking, Canadians have seen an increase in option when it comes to online banking. Though many Canadians are still hesitant to bank with an online-only lender that does not have a physical branch or employee, they could talk face-to-face.
Natasha McMillan of RateHub.ca says a big part of that hesitancy is loyalty to traditional banks, as a large portion of Canadians have been banking with the same lender for their entire lives. Not to mention the paperwork to switch to a new bank may also be daunting. Most online-only banks offer easy access to cash through any bank ATM without charge and can offer higher interest rates on their savings accounts because of their lower-cost business structure. However, customers have to get used to doing all their banking by phone or online, and some processes, like getting bank drafts, can take longer than at traditional banks. Michelle Zedekian, The Canadian Press.
These have been your afternoon headlines to 3 o'clock. Sia Forio, BCIT's The Crow.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow. everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone.
Good afternoon. I'm Lauren Achille, and this is your sports update to 3:15. The Vancouver Canucks are making some changes to their roster. General Manager Patrick Allvin announced today that defenseman Jet Wu and Guillaume Brisebois have been placed on waivers for the purpose of assigning to Abbotsford. Brisebois made his NHL debut in the 2018-2019 season with the Canucks. Wu is still waiting to make his NHL debut. Hockey Canada has seen a decline in the amount of refs at youth levels. Reporter Jacob Fraser explains the effects of this decrease.
According to Hockey Canada, there has been a decline from 33,000 refs to 16,000. With less and less officials on the ice at the youth hockey level, fewer are coming up to the higher levels in the future. Rookie American Hockey League linesman Brad Ewing says it has taken a lot of hard work to get to the higher levels.
It's taken a lot of hard work and a lot of patience. At times I've thought about quitting or just giving up because things haven't really gone the way I wanted it to. But one message always holds true. It's to just dominate the level you're at. So I've always focused on just doing well in whatever level I am, and then the rest will work itself out.
Ewing says he had to persevere through many challenges, feeling like he blew his shot before making it to where he is today. He says he will continue to do so until he reaches his goal of reffing the NHL. Jacob Fraser, BCIT's The Crow.
Our reporter Jacob Fraser is here with more. Jacob, what are some of the most common challenges referees face while officiating hockey games?
Refs are subject to lots of scrutiny from players, coaches, and fans. The game is played at such a fast pace that it's nearly impossible for even the best refs to see and make every call. Things are happening behind the play, and it can be difficult to make judgment calls when they don't see some of the things that happen behind the play.
Are there biases that can affect a referee's call, such as the influence of home crowds or star players?
Refs are held to such a high standard, and the expectation is that they will call a fair game. Home crowds and star players aren't supposed to impact calls, but the lines can get blurred sometimes, especially since a lot of officials are having to keep an eye on some of the star players and opposing teams trying to take advantage of a star player, which can eventually impact some of the calls in the game and who gets the benefit of those calls.
Thank you, Jacob. Tampa Bay Rays shortstop Wander Franco will stand trial on charges that he sexually abused a minor following a judge's ruling today in Puerto Plata, Dominican Republic. Franco faces charges of sexual abuse and exploitation against a minor and human trafficking. The charges carry a potential sentence of up to 20 years. Point guard for the Memphis Grizzlies, Derrick Rose has announced his retirement today after a 16-year career. He was Rookie of the Year in 2009 playing for the Bulls. Rose made an appearance in 3 All-Star games and became the league's youngest MVP in 2011. Rose is retiring at age 34. The Oakland A's have won their last game at the Oakland Coliseum against the Texas Rangers. It was a day baseball fans in Oakland have been dreading. The team will be moving to Sacramento and then to Las Vegas once a stadium is built. All efforts to keep the team in Oakland didn't work out in their favor. Alex Stone from ABC News reports.
It's a sad day at the Oakland Coliseum, the giant concrete structure that so many A's fans grew up in, watching their team, the history, Catfish Hunters, 1968 perfect game, the Bash Brothers, Jose Canseco and Mark McGuire, Ricky Henderson stealing bases. Concession workers have no jobs after today.
It's more sadness, it's sad that they're leaving.
And in Oakland, there's anger at the owner of the A's for uprooting the team after 57 years. Alex Stone, ABC News.
And stay tuned for Thursday night football. The Dallas Cowboys and the New York Giants will be going head-to-head at 5:15. This has been your sports update to 3:15. I'm Lauren Achille, and you're listening to BCIT's The Crow.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow.
I think Angel Reese deserves to be considered for the WNBA All-Star Defensive Team this year. I think she's made intense improvement since last season defensively. If you know Reese, you'll know that she's a good offensive player. She knows how to drive the hoop, but she's been quite impressive defending along that three-point line. She's had a 37.5 defensive rebound percentage in the 2024 season, and she's had an average of 8.1 defensive rebounds per game. And she was named number 1 rebounder in the league. Good players don't just score, but they keep the other team from making successful shots. And rebounds are crucial in the world of basketball. And from my experience on the court, if you're up against a team that allows you to get your own rebound, chances are you'll win the game. I think one of the most valuable qualities of a basketball player is fighting for an open ball, especially right by the hoop. So, if anyone deserves to have a shot on the defensive team, I think it's going to the number 1 rebounder in the league, and that's Angel Reese. I'm Lorna Chili, and this is today's Sports Comment.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretnero.
And I'm Radhika Sikakane. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.